So first things first, behind my smile and my happy demeanor you may see here and there off and on, just know I'm very sad inside. I'm a very sad person right now inside because my dog Yash, who started this channel with me, can go anytime. I don't know if it's tomorrow, if I don't know if it's next month, but it's definitely the time is coming close. So I just, even if I'm smiling, just know inside there's a wounded man. Okay. And second, I am going to be sugarcoating this quite a bit. Six Lord through houses, I'm not fully, I just can't on YouTube disclose everything about this and pending karma, especially when you learn things like Nandi Nadi. So I am going to sugarcoat, but I'm still, it's not like it's not gonna be true. It's gonna be true, but it's not to that dramatic spicy curry. This is like a something normal that you can eat and be happy and satisfied with. Thank you.
So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to our sixth Lord through houses video. So first, let's start to understand what is sixth house. Sixth house, naturally the house of the Shadripus, the six forms of struggles. It represents any kind of a conflict, diseases, debts, competition, rivalry, okay, including conflicts and divorces. Sixth house is the house of your Kriya. Sixth house represents your Kriya. It's your Artha house. It's what you have to do on a daily basis to attain your wealth. Because whatever you do on your daily basis, the luck of it will show the potential of money. Why? Because second house is ninth from the sixth house. Oh, look, we got Penny. Penny in the wilderness. Penny, you love Daddy. I love you. You're such a cute little bookish. You want to talk about? And sixth house is pets. Remember, sixth house is pets. And there goes my pet. So sixth house is pet as well. Sixth house is your gains in business. Why is sixth house gains in business? Because seventh house is your client, right? So client comes to you and they like something from you and they want to purchase from you. What are they doing? They're spending money. That means it's 12th from the seventh house. It represents the gains for you. It represents the luck of your career. How fortunate are you in your career? That would be the sixth house, because sixth house is ninth from the 10th house. Sixth house will also represent the reputation, the profession of the father. How well was his profession? Sixth house will represent wealth of your children. Sixth house naturally represents maternal aunts and uncles and the entire family of the mother. Sixth house represents the transformation of your desires. Like, you have desires. You want to drive a Ferrari and you want to have a 10-bedroom mansion. Well, that's a desire. Sixth house will show the transformation process of that particular desire. How the transformation will take place, because only through transformation can you fulfill that desire, right? Like if you're making 70, 80,000 a year, you can't think of getting a Lamborghini. But until your life transforms and turns into something where you're making 3 million a year, okay, you can get a Lamborghini, right? So that's the transformation. On the other hand, sixth house will also represent the peace and comfort and happiness of your siblings. So this is what the sixth house will represent overall. Now, let's go through the sixth Lord through houses.
Sixth, the Lord in the sixth house. So here, first of all, whenever the sixth Lord is going to be in its own house, it is going to find strength. Okay, but what kind of a strength? It's going to find the strength and the capacity to fight with the sixth house. Which means that just because sixth lord is in the sixth house, a person is going to deal with the sixth house related matters and will be able to overcome them through the wits of that particular planet that is sitting in the sixth house. But on the other hand, sixth house is also your pending karma, right? Planet which is in the sixth house shows there's something, some unfinished business related to that planet in the sixth house. Like, for example, with sun, it could be with a father, authority, government. With the moon, it's going to be with the mother, travel, food. With Mercury, it'll be little children, kids, aunts, uncles, younger sister. With Venus, of course, spouse, wife, women. With Mars, younger brother, male siblings. With Saturn, older brother, servants, people who are underneath you, subordinates, handicapped people, poor people, people who are in a very unprivileged place. There's some unfinished business with them. Rahu, paternal grandfather, lineage, foreigners, and of course, people who are going to be outcasts. There's some pending karma related to that. Ketu, it will be maternal grandfather. Ketu will be anybody who's kind of like either a monk, yogi, spiritualist, surgeon, or even a butcher. These are both Rahu, Ketu are outcast planet. So sixth house will represent that one has to deal with those things. And of course, every single planet will have their own body parts that they represent. Okay. And based on that, one also deals with those particular things. But one thing we see, okay, and this is where the planets will really make sense when sixth lord is in the sixth house, is that one is going to operate on a certain level. Like, for example, sun is in the sixth house. One will fight for their children. One will fight for their, or not even fight, one will be focused on developing their children's income, children's money. Okay. With moon, your pending karma will be towards especially helping out mother in her most, dramatic events of health, fights, disputes. So these are different variations. But one thing, sixth lord in the sixth house is strong, but it has to deal with the sixth house in order to show that I'm strong. Right? You put a guard at the gate and say, this is especially if some intruder comes in. Which means now the intruder is to come so the guard can deal with it. So it's kind of like both way relationship. When sixth lord goes into the seventh house, naturally, spouse will go to either many foreign places, foreign opportunities, visit to doctors a lot. Okay. Naturally, expenses come to the spouse. But also, on the other hand, this even shows, this is one of those combinations. Spouse was one of your enemies from past life, who you now have to make amends and live as a couple. This is how this matrix of karma works. You don't know what the relationship you have in this life, what the relationship was in past life. I know it goes into that weird side of things, but that's how it operates. Also, you will see, especially in traditional family, nuclear family sense, especially like in Asia, India, mother side of family will always get involved in your marriage. They can influence your spouse, or they can influence you regarding your marriage. You will also see sixth house is, remember, it is the house of your daily routines. Your daily routines revolve around dealing with marriage, dealing with spouse, dealing with business. Okay. And again, on the funnier end, the sixth lord and the seventh house can show, what is one's health issue? They're going to say, it's my marriage. That causes me health issue. But again, it has to do its job. Sixth house needs to be fed. Sixth house says, this I exist, and every single being on this planet, and wherever I sit, I'm gonna have to give something related to that, related to my significance, and I need to be fed. So sixth lord in the seventh may feed itself with the spouse. Okay. And especially you will also see you have debt to give to your spouse. You owe your spouse things. So don't just be thinking just because you have this placement, oh, forget it, I'm now not even, want to get married or be with someone. Because you actually getting married and giving things to your spouse, you're actually paying off your karmic debt from past life. You got to understand that. You owe them things. So because the sixth house is debt, right? You owe some debt. You get some debt. So that debt is coming through the medium of the seventh house, whether it's you dealing with business loan debt, which is always the case with this placement. But of course, there are multimillionaires and billionaires with this position that can generate wealth through debt. But mainly it shows that one feels indebted to their spouse. And in a way, this can be a very good position because you feel like you want to give yourself in service to the spouse, because the sixth house of service is in the seventh. So it has very positive implication in terms of you kind of writing like it's your cosmic Excel sheet, and you're writing off your debt. That, okay, I paid this off. You can't ignore it because it's still going to be there in the Akashic records. So when the soul goes on to the other end, it'll be like, well, you didn't finish this, you ignored it. Here, you have to finish this on this life now. Oh, you're going to keep ignoring it? Well, welcome to the machine. It'll just go for eternity. That's how it happens. And you will also see with sixth lord in the seventh house. Usually, you will have, especially in business, clients who will ask for their money back. Or if you want to not deal with having clients asking for their money back, you will see this with this position. You should always give your clients a discount. Once they have purchased your product, say, here, we're giving you this much back. Wait, I thought your product was this much, but now you're giving me this much. Oh yeah, just thank you for doing business with us. This is our thank you to you. We're giving you a discount. Then they will not be asking you for money back, because something has to come back. The expense of the client has to come back to them. So how do you do it? You give them the product, they give you the sale, but you also give them certain discounts when that money is exchanged. That's a little trick. It's a naughty technique and trick. So then, sixth lord is in the eighth house. So the number one thing we see here, on the positive side, this is a position where enemy dissolves. Whatever enemies comes to this person, meaning human form enemies, they never surpass. They always are either dissolved or transformed into a friend. Many a times I've witnessed this, even in my own life, where some of the worst enemies or people who were against you ends up becoming your friend. Either they end up becoming your friend, or they somehow just disappear from your life. They can never go and finish certain things, to damage you. But sixth lord is in the eighth house. Obviously, in-laws. Somebody in your in-laws will have some kind of a chronic health issue. Okay. Sixth lord is in the eighth house. Your in-laws will have a very strong social circle, strong network circle that they're always going to be influenced by. These are the people, and again, this is not you. This is your in-laws and your spouse's family. They're always somehow involved in some kind of an activity, whether cultural activities, community activities, corporate activities. You know, those people who will always have some party to go to on the weekend. So you will see that play out with this position. And then sixth lord in the eighth house. One of the hardest things these people find is to have a daily routine. You want to have a daily routine? You can't. You can try as hard as you like. And especially if it's Saturn, who's sixth lord in the eighth house, yes, you will be able to have a daily routine. But what happens is usually some obstacle comes in the daily routine. For example, person wants to meditate. They set a schedule. I'm going to meditate every day from this time to this time. Something happens where they cannot do it every day. They might be able to do it 3 times a week. At that particular moment, your daily routine is to always go to the shop and wanting to go to the shop and have your coffee in the morning. It just can never happen on a daily basis. Something happens. Maybe there's traffic. Now you can't go to the shop. You got to go straight to the office. Or when you get out of the office, you want to go to that shop, have that nice tea and coffee, but now you have to pick up your kid from some soccer school or some kind of extra curriculum activities. So usually the plans, they do happen, but they're not happening on a regular basis. They kind of go into that deep dive. And also you will see your maternal aunts and uncle. One of them will be intensely spiritual. Like when you, usually we don't really talk to our maternal aunt and uncle as much, especially in this day and age anymore. Okay, I haven't seen my uncle. Well, I saw him when my sister passed away 2 years ago. Before that, it was when my other uncle passed away 6 years ago. So, you know, it's not happening in that terms of dynamic, but one of them will be very, like you will find out, oh my God, I never knew this about you. You'll find these mysterious potholes from your aunts and uncles. Like you never heard the fact that they actually met this sannyasi or guru in the Himalayas when they went to Rishikesh or something. And this person was 300 years old and they told them this about life, this about life. I'm like, how come I never heard this? They'll be like, well, we never really talked before. There's always some mystery. Okay. And sixth lord in the eighth house obviously shows the children will mostly have fixed assets as their wealth. More than having liquid cash, they will have like property. They will have like anything stored of value. They will have like land as part of their assets and wealth. Okay. So that is your sixth lord in the eighth house. Next one is sixth lord in the ninth house. So sixth lord is in the ninth house. This shows service to the guru is your pending karma. Father needs, especially, let's say if you have a newborn child and sixth lord is in the ninth house, father needs to be in a place of competition. Father needs to be in a competitive place. Even if not, then father needs to like play online games with other people a lot. Because if you don't, then sixth house is saying, I have to feed myself. Here, feed me, I'm here. Oh, you're not feeding me. Well, I'm going to feed myself. I'll bring the sixth house significance to you. I'll bring enemies to you, disputes to you, health issues to you. But how do you avert that? You dive into the sixth house. Sixth lord is the ninth house. Instead of it feeding you, you feed it. Say, okay, I'm going to help out people who are sick. I'm going to be in a competitive space in my life. I'm going to have competition around me. I'm going to go into a place where people hate me. And that's where I'm going to thrive. Sixth lord is in the ninth house. Have your child always meet a guru, help out a guru, take like volunteering that happens in ashrams. You need to have your child do that. By doing that, your child is actually helping you feed your ninth house. Always with sixth house, sixth house is a daily routine. Daily routine is in the ninth house. Every day, you and your children should read some religious text. Whether it's the Bible, whether it's the Quran, whether it's the Bhagavad Gita, the Puranas, anything. Read 1 or 2 pages every day, sit down and go over the pages. Two pages. You spend 15 minutes standing in line at Starbucks to get your latte. That you can't miss, but you cannot spend just 15-20 minutes reciting 2 pages of the Bible or the Quran or the Bhagavad Gita or something, or the Kabbalah. Because you want to feed the sixth house. You don't want sixth house to be feeding itself. You don't want it to take things from your fridge. You want to give what you want to give it. And of course, you will also see father will naturally have a very strong connection and relationship with maternal aunts and uncles if you have maternal aunts and uncles. Okay. You will see in your daily routine, you will always need a mentor. You will always desire, may not have a mentor, but you will feel like I wish I had somebody to show me these things. That's what happens. And of course, when you're old enough and your children have kids, your wealth increases. If sixth lord is in the ninth house of the birth of children, your wealth increases. Meaning when you become a grandparent. But also every year, you must go on some pilgrimage. You must go on some pilgrimage. There's spots all over the world. You don't need to specifically go to a certain country. Okay. Sixth lord is in the ninth house. One thing you can also do, start writing and publishing articles. And what do you write and publish articles on? It's on the sixth house. How to resolve suffering of other people. Make that your daily routine. Every week I'm going to say something about something that's happening in the world and how these people are suffering. Like especially travel photographers and journalists, they can really benefit from these particular positions. Because you're publishing things connected with the sixth house of disputes, fights, wars, famine and poverty and, just all the things we deal in this Maya. Then, sixth lord goes into the 10th house. So sixth lord is in the 10th house. So this is now your turn. Your turn to deal in a competitive space, surrounded with enemies, surrounded with people who don't like you, in order for you to succeed. Otherwise, because like I said, sixth lord needs to feed itself. It's coming to the 10th house for feeding. It says, I'm hungry, feed me. If you don't, then I'll have to feed myself. That means I'm going to bring enemies to you, struggles to you, all kinds of issues to you in your workspace, especially when you deal with authorities or bosses. In that case, what do? You have to be in an environment where you're surrounded with competition. Like, for example, in a financial industry, where people are on commission, people are investment banking, everybody's competing to make that money. When you're in these type of environments, that's where you thrive because you're feeding the sixth house. When you're dealing with work that is connected with, let's say, NGO, when you're connecting with people who are, let's say, dealing with health issues, medical field, debts, debts and loans. But this sixth lord in the 10th house doesn't mean this is what your career needs to be. No matter what your career is, you need to pick the sixth house. For example, sixth lord in the 10th house doesn't mean anything because it all depends on your career. So let's say you're a lawyer. Well, that's naturally you're in that space. You're fighting every day. But let's say you're in IT. You're in softwares. Well, try to deal with the sixth house related thing as part of your career. Maybe become an IT individual, going into banks, going into healthcare facilities, hospitals. Okay, anything that is dealing with UN and wars. For example, there are many people that are working for Raytheon, Lockheed Martin. right? These are weapon manufacturing companies. There might be drone companies, there might be airplane companies, but they are making weapons. They're about dealing with wars, dealing with the sixth house. Like, for example, these are, if six lords in the 10th house and you have other combinations in your chart and you become a police officer, I mean, this is like, this person just lives for their career. They live to be a police officer. They're like enemies here. Like, okay, deal with it. Let's deal with it. Athletes, right? But you must be in that space of the sixth house. But the other thing, six lords in the 10th house, right? So dispute is coming with your bosses and authorities in your workspace. So what do? You simply need to serve your authority. You need to become a child for your authority. Let them think of you as a little child who will do whatever they say, who will also listen to them, please them, like kissing corporate butts. That's the saying, right? This person needs to do that because they have to be humbled. Sixth house of servant goes into the 10th house. You're here to serve. You can't think of yourself as same as the boss because their energy with you will not coincide unless somebody who has ascendant lord is in the 10th house and at the same time they're dealing with the boss. And if they say something in return, like, no, this is not right, I think we should do this, that person will respect somehow this person's energy more versus when sixth lord is in the 10th. They'll be like, wait a second, why is this person trying to be so aggressive with me? Are they trying to take my position? Now, if let's say your ascendant lord is in the 10th house, sixth lord is in the 10th house, then of course, then you're going to have to deal with. Sometimes you can't get away with certain situations. Then you will try to have your own opinion versus what you don't want to be a yes man all the time. So you will say something, and then in that case, you will get into that dispute. And there's no like going back and forth when you have those multiple placements, sitting. But what is the way you can balance this out? Go out and serve. Go out and give your volunteer time into nonprofit organizations. Okay? Do that. The other thing, always time to time ask your manager, hey, do you have any work that you want me to help you? Like, I can help you this Saturday. Because what are you doing? You're bringing sixth house energy to the boss. But instead of fighting enemy energy, you're saying, I am the servant. I am underneath you. Let me help you out. You have some extra work you're going to be completing over the weekend. Let me help you out for 2 hours with this work. And you have to do it. If you want to see the improvements of the sixth lord and the 10th, you're going to have to do those particular things. And of course, when sixth lord is in the 10th house, you will see after the birth of your cousins, maternal aunts and uncles, okay? When their kids are born, naturally, when they're there, when they're present, they're alive and everything, your career is boosting. And so always keep a good relationship with your maternal aunts and uncles' children, which are your cousins. When you have a good relationship with them, you will keep your 10th house strong. You will keep your relationship with the bosses strong. Next, sixth lord is in the 11th house. When sixth lord is in the 11th house, you will see enemy influences your social circles, network circles. Infiltrates your connection to get them against you. You will deal with that at one point. You may not deal with that every year. But you will remember these situations. Whether they happen in your teens, 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, they will take place. Sixth lord is in the 11th house. One desires to serve the biggest organization out there, like Red Cross, UN, right? Blue Cross. I don't know, Blue Cross is actually an insurance company. But sixth house is Bhavad Bhavam of the, or 11th house is the Bhavad Bhavam of the sixth house. Six from the sixth. That, you know what? You know who the enemy is here? Think about it. Who's the enemy? Too many desires. Too many desires become your enemy. where it bothers your consciousness, because 11th house is 8th from the 4th house of your peace of mind. When 6th house is there, it's irritating. This desire, that desire, that desire. And they feel like when you have too many desires, like I get people who want to get a reading, they're like, how do I become a billionaire? I need to become a billionaire. I cannot stand just being a multimillionaire. And yet they don't even have a job right now. But they want to become a billionaire. And now if you give them the truth, they're like, oh my God, my world has ended. That's it. There's nothing else matters in this life except unless you're a billionaire. That's what happens. See how I'm connecting it. Sixth Lord is 6th from itself, Bhavad Bhavam, desire, but it's also 8th from the 4th house. It's the death of your peace of mind. So desires becomes the death of your peace of mind. So what's the solution? Please have more practical desires and limited desires. Things happen, they don't happen, they don't happen. You will also see elder sibling deals with tremendous amount of transformation in their life. When they deal with ups and downs, they'll deal with the huge ups and downs in their life. The other thing, relationship with the elder sibling. Elder siblings at one point will become your enemy, even though they come back being your friend again. It happens, and especially you will see, definitely you'll see when 6th Lord is in the 11th house. When you will see, when you have a big fight with your elder sibling, find out if your maternal aunts or uncles, one of them is sick, one of them got injured, one of them is dealing with some health issue. You know. And then, as soon as they recover, you will see your relationship with the elder sibling begins to improve. Maybe it won't improve, but the animosity will not be there. That's how you want to look at this placement in such way. Also, 6th Lord in the 11th house, you will see your children will spend most of their money on their spouse, on their relationship. Not even spouse, in their relationship. They love spending money on them. Such people can go into debts to impress their social circles, network circles. I remember this movie. Remember that movie of Amir Khan? Dil, right? Where his father is giving fake rupees and notes to the poor people, and then he makes friends with this rich person pretending to be rich. Same thing. It's that same scenario. It's funny how that scene just came up in my head. But a person is going to try to go into debt so they can make connections, thinking those connections are going to give them something. While it's nothing but seed of obstacle. It takes away your peace of mind, because think about it. The seed, okay, the seed of the 6th house is in the 11th, and the sprouting happens in the 4th house. The patha of the 11th or the 6th ends up in the 4th house. Stop it. Cut it out. And especially 6th Lord in the 11th, one may even get into debt on behalf of elder sibling. Maybe you have to pay for their medical bill. You have such a close relationship, and these are those pending karmas that you deal with in your life. Now 6th Lord is in the 12th house. So we've got 6th Lord in the 12th house, right? So what does this show us? Very simple. It's a very beautiful placement for somebody to focus on spiritual practices on the positive side. Because 6th house is daily routines. Where is daily routines going? Into the 12th house of spiritual practices. In daily routines, this person needs their solitude, needs their isolation time. Also, your enemy always become enlightened after coming across you as their enemy. Your enemy naturally get dissolved, but at certain point also, enemy will also cause expenses. But they exit. And they exit being changed in a positive way. But on the other hand, let's not forget there's two sides to these things. 6th Lord in the 12th house, daily routines can consist of dealing with addiction issues. Somebody who has to take a certain pill every day. Somebody who has to do certain drugs, something. every day. Now, sixth lord in the 12th house, you know, will not show like somebody who's addicted to tea and coffee, anything that you're, you know, taking as a food. It's more of actual recreational drugs. But this doesn't mean this is the position that does it. There has to be other elements. Like you can't just make a curry out of just salt. You have to have other masalas with you to create that specific curry. Also, your maternal aunts and uncles will settle in foreign lands, will settle far away, in faraway places. Also, sixth lord is in the 12th house. The more spiritual practices you do, the lesser you're going to deal with your health issues. Because in a way, if especially we look at it in the context of Parashri, this is a Vedic Raj yoga. Okay. Usually you will see when a person goes through any kind of like sickness or health issue, some improvement always happens once you recover from that sickness. Why? Because it has to bring something related to the sixth house and then do something positive, like reverse the result. Loss of that disease is happening. Loss of the enemies is happening. Loss of death is happening. So usually we'll see when you go through some hurdle in your life, you will also see at the same time if you have debt, your debt begins to decrease. Some element becomes active related to that. But this is, like I said, this is the most important. Gotta do spiritual practices daily with sixth lord of the 12th. That's your pending karma. That's all your pending karma is dealing with this six, dealing with your spiritual silence. And you will see how your all the things related to debts, health, illnesses, enemies, competition, rivalry, all of it dissolves. This is why I was actually mentioning in one of my other videos recently, when some people, actually I was mentioning in that reading to someone, you know, when some people say, as soon as I started doing yoga, I started to improve my life, especially financially. You should do it too. And the only reason why they're saying this is because they have certain placement. They have certain positions, like for example, they could have Mars, Ketu, Venus together. They do yoga, money comes in. But that, again, these are very specific based things. It doesn't mean just because you're doing yoga is going to improve your wealth. This is definitely going to improve your sixth house related matters, including your work. Not wealth, work. And wealth is somehow connected with work. At least stability is the sixth house. Stability is going to be connected with your work. So you must do those spiritual practices. You will see the magic. Don't believe me. I always tell people, don't trust me, test me. When you see the evidence, then you see like, okay, this guy has something to offer into the world. Same way sixth lord is in the ascendant. So then, sixth lord is in the ascendant. This is a very interesting placement. Because on the other hand, okay, this shows me if you have maternal aunts and uncles, you're going to have to help them in their most emergency of time. Which could be as simple as their car breaks down, they call you or they call someone else, and you have to go pick them up in the middle of the road. Pending karma paid off. But anytime maternal aunts and uncles are in some serious trouble, and you know people are kind of not helping them, you must go there to help them, because remember what I said, sixth lord needs to feed itself. It's coming to you for feeding. And as I said, sixth house is the house of Shadripus, the six forms of, enemies that come in our life through health, debt, obstacles, litigation, diseases. So naturally, these things are coming to you. So you deal with that. Now, yes, sixth lord in the ascendant, one is always somehow dealing with some health issues. Some small health issue is happening. So how do you kind of like give something to the sixth house so it doesn't bother you? It's very simple. Give yourself in service to people who are sick. Give yourself in service to people who are suffering. Either donate money, every paycheck, to something connected with helping out poor people related to their health, illnesses, diseases, their obstacles. Because here's sixth lord, the enemy just comes to you. You can go into the Himalayas, you'll find an enemy. You'll create an enemy. So then, if the enemy is coming to you, what do you have to do? So this way, the house is not forcefully feeding itself. When the enemy comes to you, serve them. There's this, I think this was in autobiography of a yogi, or it was in Vivekananda's biography that I was reading, where a robber was coming to this monastery to rob them. And the leader of that monastery put all the money, gold, everything out, along with the most delicious food. And when they came in, they're like, wait, what is this? Like, pick whatever you want, take it with you. Also, we created these amazing dishes for you. But just don't hurt any of my monks. Don't kill them. But you do it, and we have prepared the best food for you. And you know what happened with that? The robber actually became the disciple of that rishi, left everything behind, and became a sannyasi. This is how you transform, because sixth house is service, sixth lord is in the ascendant. Enemies coming to you, you go back to the enemy, you serve them. Sixth lord is in the ascendant. You must always, like anytime you are dealing with some form of health and sickness, as long as you have somebody underneath you working, for example, somebody who comes and cleans your home, and you're taking good care of them, they will always protect your health. They will always protect your body. Because sixth house is the servant. Sixth, the Lord is going eighth from itself. That means when you activate the sixth house, it actually dissolves itself. You see how simple this is. No need to wear any gemstones. No need to go and donate something. No need to go and bury something on the ground. Nothing. No need to go to this temple, that temple. You simply go to the sixth house. You feed the sixth house instead of the sixth house feeding you, or feeding from you forcefully. Once you use that analysis, things just takes place. And usually if sixth lord is in the ascendant, you would naturally align yourself if you go into the medical fields related to debts, loans, dealing with the suffering of others, somehow, some way. Whether you do it on a volunteer time or it's actually your paycheck that you're making money from it. That's all. And you will see you are now decreasing the negative effects of the sixth house. Sixth lord is in the eighth house. Debt comes to you, right? Everybody hates debt. So what do? Keep a revolving debt. If debt comes to you, then you will see somehow it also brings health issues with you. But if you just keep a revolving debt, meaning you're paying your cell phone bill, your electricity bill, your water bill on a credit card, and you're paying it off in the next cycle, then you're feeding the sixth house. Say, hey, before you bring any debt to me, I already have my debt. See, look at my credit card statement. And from there, then the big debt doesn't come to you. You keep that revolving. So there is benefits to having debt. Okay, because if you don't, then it's going to force itself on you. Where you never wanted debt, and now you suddenly have a $20,000 debt. Now, let's talk about sixth lord in the second house. Then sixth lord in the second house. So as you know, there's this mechanism of feeding that happens. Sixth lord has to be fed somehow, some way. It's saying, feed me. So then, instead of it forcefully feeding itself, you feed it. You should see the example I gave in the sixth lord in the ascendant about the robber and the rishi or the monastery monk. First of all, your pending karma is with family. You have to take care of the family. You cannot escape to become a sannyasi. You can go and become a monk. Because being part of on the spiritual path shows that you have to be a householder. Sixth Lord in the second house shows one needs to earn money. One needs to go out there and make money. Your ability to earn money and make money is part of that process of spiritual enlightenment. See, we think of rishis and yogis and think that's the path to spirituality. But astrology actually teaches you the greatest path. Because it shows you if you have something pending, a debt, it's going to carry on in this machine of Maya until you pay it off. So that means pay it off. Second thing, sixth Lord is in the second house. You should always have a revolving debt. You should always purchase something on credit card, pay it off the next month. Like for example, automatic bill, cell phone bills, water bill, electricity bill, all your apps, subscriptions, put it there. And when they go in, pay it off. Keep it revolving. And sixth Lord is in the second house, right? The enemy tries to put you in debt. The enemy tries to come and take your money. Unless, of course, you have the sixth Lord affecting the sixth house, then you make money through enemy. Like Jupiter, sixth Lord in the second house will aspect the sixth house. So you actually make money from that enemy. Sixth Lord in the second house. Okay. This is the reason why when you have a revolving debt, you already are dealing with the sixth house things on daily basis. Because if you're like, I don't want any debt, I don't want any money owed, I just want to be protected. Then what happens is now sixth house is going to forcefully feed itself from you. Somebody does something, now you have to owe them, give them money. Right? You suddenly have some major thing happen with your car or something, and now you have to go into debt because you don't have that big chunk of money to pay for this car. But if you kept that debt revolving, it wouldn't be coming and forcefully feeding itself from you. And sixth Lord in the second house, go into competition. The more competition you have around you, the more money you will make. Because if you feel like, I don't want any competition, I just want to be the only one here and that's it, then your sixth house is going to forcefully feed. But because sixth house is competition, the enemy, right? You surround yourself with it. When you surround yourself with competitors, enemies, people who don't like you, you make money. So the more people talk negative about you, the more people try to put you down, you will see this person just keeps making money. Also, you will see after your birth, your maternal aunts and uncles would have moved far away. And depending upon how your sixth Lord is in the second house, your maternal aunts and uncles' luck would have started. Also, sixth Lord in the second house, your children will always have money. They'll always have money, enough money for everything. Before you and after you. Sixth Lord is in the second house. Naturally, most of the travel plans of your spouse dissolves unless you're the one making the travel plans. Sixth Lord is in the second house. Father would be in service at one point to government. Maybe later on did his own business. But father would have had some kind of a connection or work or contract with the government. The other thing, this sixth Lord in the second house shows after your birth, in your paternal lineage, many children were born. For example, before you were born, maybe one person was born 2, 3 years back and this and that. But after you were born, two, four, six, seven kids would be born in the next 3, 4 years. And of course, paternal side of the family's luck rises because of your birth, because of this position. And the other thing, sixth lord is in the second house. Always speak about solving problems of other people. When you speak, you talk about how to solve problems of other people. And you will always feed the second house or sixth house. Now, sixth lord in the third house. So then you have sixth lord in the third house. Okay, so that means now the sixth lord's significance are going to the third house for feeding. So what can we see here? Many things. The number one thing you will see is that after your birth, your maternal aunts and uncles, their career became very stable. If they didn't have a job, they now have they had a job after you were born. Enemies always tend to find your siblings. Health issues can always become that war and battle with the younger sibling. Or, because remember, this is feeding. Either your younger sibling, especially the immediate younger sibling, will always deal with debts, health, dealing with competition, enemies, rivals, or they become your enemy and rival. Okay. And this is why it's very important that I always said in all these other house lords is to feed the sixth house. So how can you feed the sixth house? Because look, you cannot control the lives of your siblings, right? You can't tell them, do this. So this way my relationship with you is not bad. They wouldn't care. If you cannot control, you can tell them, sure, but you cannot control what they do or not do. Because how do you know? They could be 200 miles away from you are, and every day you can say, hey, are you doing this? Oh yeah, I'm doing this. Of course. They may not be doing it. So the number one thing here is this. You must play sports, go into a gym, deal with especially working on your arms. And again, you may not do this either for lifelong. See, the only thing is when symptoms are there, then you take the medicine. That's the main thing. So whenever you have issues with your younger siblings, they suddenly have animosity against you. They suddenly have, they're going against you. If then you start playing sports against other people, you go to the gym, you start working out, suddenly it starts improving that particular condition. Sixth lord is naturally the house of debt. So sixth, the lord is in the third house. You will see, because third house is not only just siblings, but also travels. It's your efforts, it's your fruits. Your fruits only will fructify once you have gone into some debt. When you especially do business, you will be forced to take on some debt. Now, you don't want this naturally to come about, because if it comes about naturally, then you may be in a debt that you might be paying off for 1 year, 2 years, 3 years. The best thing to do here, always have a revolving account with your credit card. Pay all your bills on a credit card, pay it off by the end of the month. Because when sixth house is then going to the third house for feeding, you will see you start getting results in your life. But if you have debts, you're already in a mountain of debts, 20,000, 30,000. First, you need to sit and assess, how did these debts come about? I had no debts and suddenly debts came in. Well, because you probably were trying to avoid debts and debt came in. On the other hand, sixth lord is in the third house. Especially one always have to deal with certain obstacle when they travel. Doesn't happen every single time, but usually it will happen time to time. Like maybe every other time you travel, some obstacle happens, some delay in your flight happens, cancellation of flights happen. Also, when you travel, okay, you will also see younger sibling gets into some form of health issue. Also, let's say for example you find out your uncle or your aunt has been looking for work, they've been laid off. What do you tell them? Oh, go to KRS for a reading. No, you don't need to do that. Simply, you travel, go 100 miles or more. Go travel somewhere, see what happens within a week with your maternal aunts and uncles who are looking for work. But of course, they should look for work. It's not like you travel and then suddenly somebody knocks on their door and say, hey, you want to get a job? Now, miraculously, these things could happen and they have happened. But I'm not counting them as one of these remedy things. No, just a fluke. But if they are applying for work and then you travel far away, maybe especially with third house, you have to cross a border. If you really love your aunts and uncles, you don't have that, the tight work schedule, go travel, come back and see what's happening in a week or two with their particular employment. And only, again, you don't need to do these things and then find out what's happening in their work. First, there has to be a symptom. If that symptom is there, then you do this. Okay. Also, sixth house is enemies, right? You got competition, you got enemies. How do you take care of them? Because that's your pending karma. Especially you will see when you travel, also when you're at a place and destination, you can get into arguments with people. You can get into some fights with people, especially with sixth lord in the third house. You want to be aware of pickpocketers. Like especially when you go to Europe or any other country, pretty much, you're going to deal with pickpocketers. So you want to be careful of those particular things. But also the thing is, because sixth lord is in the 10th house, whatever you were dealing with before in terms of like somebody's going against you, somebody's talking against you, when you travel, you dissolve that particular karma. It actually improves situation for you when you travel. And this is why you will see people who say, oh, I love traveling because whenever I'm in some obstacle, I'll travel. I feel so good because when I come back, luckily I always have all my issues resolved. That's because instead of the sixth house feeding you or feeding forcefully in your third house, you already are feeding your third house. Okay, and sixth lord in the third house. Okay, you see when this person communicates, when this person writes, it always gets them in some controversy. Like they have a lot of people stand against them when they write, when they say something. A lot of times that happens, right? Look at a person's chart if you know their time, some writer, some author, somebody on influencer said something, and now the whole world is against them. They make many enemies. So you will see either from even the ascendant or the moon, the sixth lord will be in the third house. So now we see sixth lord in the fourth house. So then sixth lord is in the fourth house. So of course it shows this is one of those placements that the mother has always dealt with enemies, obstacles, health issues. Okay, it also shows that naturally the siblings of the mother will always be there to help your mother. But if there's a malefic impact on it, then siblings are coming to your mother for disputes. So it can go either way. The other thing, sixth lord in the fourth house. Naturally a person, and this is something now, I can't even say this belongs to this particular lord houseship, because back in the days you could say that you're going to have to take a loan in order to buy a property. But now 99% of properties out there are on loans and mortgages. Only a very few people can pay full cash to get a property. So it's not like one of those magical analysis and prediction. But before, yes, it was used to be this. Because before, like either your ancestor left you a property, your parents left you a property, you accumulated the money, and then you bought a property or land and built your home there because it was so cheap back then. but at the same time, sixth lord in the fourth house shows you will get opportunities in your life to get a property which is under dispute, which is under, like, let's say, a bank owned property, legally disputed property. And because the dispute is now being settled, they're wanting to sell the property. And whoever has sixth lord in the fourth house will be the first one to hear about it or get the chance to bid on that particular property. So usually if you are having a hard time, because see, the planet of obstacles is going to feed in the fourth house. It's going to give you obstacles related to getting property, getting vehicles. So what do? Number one, if you're having, let's say, problem, like, we just can't get a property, everybody buys it before we bid on it, what's going on? Look for a property which is or was in dispute, or especially bank owned, because that's a disputed property, was foreclosed on. Those are the properties you'll be able to get with this particular position. Sixth lord in the fourth house, always either try to get a used car in a good condition, or especially when you get a new car, brand new car, you will always see, if you don't do something on your own, some scratch comes in. Some scratch will always come in your car in the first week, which will be noticeable. So what is it said? So if, let's say, you have a back of the bumper, like bottom of the bumper of your car where nobody can see anything, right? Where your trunk is, you open the trunk and it's the bottom. In there you can put a small scratch. So this way now you're feeding the sixth house. Because what did I say? You have to either feed the sixth house, or sixth house is going to come and feed itself, forcefully take food from the fridge. And I've given that story in, if you watch my sixth lord in the ascendant, right? Sixth lord in the ascendant or sixth? Yeah, watch my sixth lord in the ascendant. I talk about this story of monk and the robber. So you get a better understanding of it. Okay, but sixth lord also going into the fourth house, it usually also shows that within your home, especially when you were living with your mother, and now I'm not talking about the home now, but when you were living with your parents and your mother, you would have seen fights, disputes with the neighbors would have happened. And the other thing, sixth lord in the fourth house, whenever your aunts and uncles came into your home to visit your mother, after they left, maybe 3 days, 4 days later, mother got sick. Mother didn't feel good. Or, especially nowadays, you can say, mother bought something on a credit card. Mother put some debt on. Okay. So this is how you can look at this sixth lord in the fourth house. Next, finally, is going to be sixth lord in the fifth house. So fifth lord goes into the, or I'm sorry, sixth lord goes into the fifth house. That means pending karma with children. One has to actually bring children in this life so you can pay debts to them. This is that particular placement where a person will actually be spending a lot more on their children. So if, let's say, somebody's sending their children to regular school, regular things, this person will send their children to private school, this person will put them into 10 different extracurriculum activities. They'll fully pay for their, university. And even after they, graduate and everything, they'll give them a business in hand. But also on the other hand, okay, so sixth house is going to the sixth lord is going to the fifth house, which is second from the fifth house. So usually you can see children would be quite self-consumed. Like, they want things for themselves first. Before they do anything else, they want things for themselves first. Also, your children will strongly be impacted by your either mother's siblings, which will be in part their grandparents in a way you can say, or regular relatives. Like, they'll be strongly be influenced by relatives, aunts, uncles, cousins, Masi, Taiji, this, that. Their development becomes very strong related to that. And also, because sixth lord is in the fifth house, usually such people find major problems, hurdles in trying to attain education in their own home place. And this is you. Unless you leave, go far away, only then you're able to attain a smooth sailing in your education. Sixth lord in the fifth house. You know what happens? This is one of those classic placement where as soon as you start your education, person gets into a relationship. And then what happens is they go fall deep in love, they break up, and it ruins their education. This is one of those classic placements. Sixth lord in the fifth. The obstacle of education becomes a romance. Because fifth house is romance. Fifth house is education. Okay? And so sixth house, which is 12th from the seventh house, the pleasure of your spouse ends up in that they get everything out of you. They'll have the romantic time, they'll have that deeply fall in love, but they won't be the one feeling so distraught when things break up, or they will be the one breaking up. So this is why it's very important. If you're at that age, you're a teenager, you have a teenage son or daughter, please tell them, fine, have romance, experience what romance is. But please, the moment they text you and say, we want to see I want to see other people, blah, 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 just tell them, keep yourself on such a distance that when that text comes in, yeah, go have fun. I think you're absolutely right. Yeah, we'll stay friends. I think you're absolutely right. I agree with this too. You're not ruining your education because of this. And this becomes the remedy. Sixth lord, okay, is in the fifth house of your intelligence. This is the person that improves their intelligence when they keep their eye on their enemy. They learn from their enemy. They learn from their rivals. These are the people that actually will keep their enemy as their friend. Because even though they know this person doesn't like me, they don't want me to succeed, they don't care, but I'm still going to talk to them. I'm still going to pretend like I don't know anything, and I'm going to learn from them. Because what they know about life, business, education, technology, coding, I can't learn from anybody else. So your intelligence, because fifth house is your intelligence. How that intelligence works. Intelligence works in the being amongst the enemy. You know, like Machiavelli says, keep your friends close and enemies closer. This is that position. Also, the more obstacle this person deals with, the more, heartaches this person deals with, the better their intelligence work. Like if this person feels like burnt out with the fact that nothing is there and I'm not able to just really feel alive, the moment they get into some kind of the moment some major obstacle comes in their life, now their intelligence is fully awakened. Why? Because sixth lord is in the fifth house, so it awakens the fifth house of intelligence. And sixth lord is going to the fifth house for its feeding. And this is why it's also important. Sixth lord, okay, is in the fifth house. That means you're going to have to feed the sixth house. Because if you don't feed the sixth house is going to feed itself. So here what you have to do is that, especially let's say when you have children, put them in competitive sports. Even if they're not wanting to be, put them in soccer, put them in cricket, put them in some competitive chess learning, and then take them to, I don't care if they win or lose. It's not about that. It's about aligning. It's about aligning. Also, sixth lord is in the fifth house. The only time you will see these people don't really have too much obstacles with education is when they're learning anything related to accounting, healthcare, or understanding financial debts. Or foreign policies. If let's say you're learning about foreign policies, so you can one day work in the government, okay, you won't have obstacles. This is that particular placement. Okay? So this was our sixth lord through houses. We'll see you next time with seventh lord through houses. And remember, I have done November horoscopes on Karis Vlogs on Maga Vedic Astrology Academy. Soon, by end of this month, I'll be doing December horoscope on Karis Vlogs as well. Okay? We'll see you later. Bye-bye.